Now, to start off, I'm going to push the comma key to get rid of that. And I'm going to go to my tools up here, load tool, desktop, blacksmith hammer, meshes. Oh, sorry, not load tool, import. My mistake. Again, go to my desktop, blacksmith hammer, meshes, and then, come on, get in there. There we go, and grab that little guy. Make polymesh 3D before doing anything, and then just dragging him in. Now go to edit, move him around, and boom, we have our basic hammer in our ZBrush document. Now that top bit might have been a bit over the top, but I kind of like it. Again, it's for a stylized scene, so it's not going to make a big deal for me to keep it like that. So, first thing we need to do is we need to go to our, where is it, polygroups, there you go. And we just want to auto group. What this will do now is if we hold Control Shift and select a part of our mesh, you'll get it separated out. You click onto it while still holding Control Shift, and you'll be able to just separate your bits out. Super useful when you want to just edit singular bits. You can mask as well, where you hold Control, and basically you can make it so parts aren't masked, or they are masked, and they will be edited when you're trying to do something. But I just prefer using polygroup if they are separate assets. So, when we go geometry, I want to divide the hell out of this, because we just want to get a load of detail. So, if you keep this on when you go divide, any bit that I've cut off faces for will start bringing itself in, which we do not want. So, even though it makes it a little bit harder later, you just want to take this one off and just click divide a bunch of times. The reason this makes it somewhat harder later is because now the detail that I was looking for, where it smooths, isn't coming along. I'll have to sort of do that manually. So if we come into a lower division, Control Shift something just to get it to separate out. I can then just start smoothing some of that down. Just smooth, hold Shift, and just draw. You can turn down your intensity. I recommend always turning it down, because you don't, if you have smoothing turned up, you tend, on 100% anyway, you tend to just lose a bunch of the detail you put in. So we're just gonna go into here, smooth out some of these edges. It is just a piece of wood, so I will be changing this in a minute. Now, next thing I want to do is I just want to go trim dynamic. And I just basically want to be flattening out some of these edges. So I'm going to turn off the intensity. That's about right on my focal distance, focal shift, sorry. And then I just want to flatten some of them down. Now I want to divide this back to 8. There you go. And I just want to get some of this detail in. Now I think I'm going to do this about 30. Again, this is all based on what you guys are making. It's not always going to be the same. I want to lower it again actually and just get smoothing over here. There you go. Just make it easier to work with. Again, put this down to about 30. Ooh, almost perfect. We're 1 off. I don't want to delete lower divisions. That was an accident. Cool. Now we just want to see where we want these edges. I'm going to want them about here. And we just want to pull this, or just get some of this detail out. It's going to be wood, so if you want, you can chunk out bits like that. But I'm going to do that a bit later. The reason for that is because I need to add a load of clay build-up on it in just a minute. But I want to take the edges off first. This is sort of my process for wood. I watched a couple of videos and I got some advice from a couple of people. And this is just sort of the technique I eventually decided to work with. I would link a video to what the original technique was, but it's kind of a mix between a few things and then a little bit of my own thing, because it just sort of worked the way that I wanted it to. Now I keep leaning back, so I don't know if my voice is going to fluctuate in volume. Hopefully it won't be too bad. So we're just going to chop away at these edges. So a lot of this process is just rinse and repeat until you get your bits done. So that's pretty good. We'll just chunk away at those. Then I want to go to, now I have 2 versions of this. You've got one that comes with ZBrush. Now I don't like using this one because when you go too fast, you get this sort of, in fact I'm getting it permanently at the moment, I'm not sure what's causing that. But if you go too fast, you just get this sort of bump effect, which I don't want. If I go into orb clay tubes, you get a much smoother sort of brush on it. Now you can go on to just Google, write in orb brush kit or set or whatever, and you'll just get it online easily. I will probably link in the description where to grab it from. It's a free. The artist who made the brushes made it completely free, and it's just really easy to get your hands on, and it's super nice. And not only you've got stuff like this, but you've also got just some great built-in ones. Like you've got like a slash one. The thicker ones, it's more obvious. Slash one, so if I just want to have slashes on something, it's really nice, or just on the edges like that. It's super good. I don't use them too often because I like to make it more unique, but if you are starting off, it is just an easier way to get that detail in. Now, what I want to do here is I want to start building up some clay. So, I essentially want to get a nice straight line coming from the bottom to the top like this. I just want to do that a couple of times. A bit of the clay overlaying itself like that. And that's going to be the basis of our wood. So, again, bring it down. Now, if you go too fast, again, you'll get these bumps. So if I just take it a bit slower, I'll get less of that. And last side. Now you can add a bit more detail here by going into Dam Standard. So I don't usually know where it is because I usually just press DS and you'll get your Dam Standard. What Dam Standard does is you'll get your you'll start cutting your way into it. If you do have the orb kit, I personally think it's crack 2. Yeah, crack 2 maybe, or maybe crack 1 gives a much nicer wood effect. So again, you can just come into here, you can just look at parts and go, I want a nice big bit here, and I'm just pressing hard and going soft. Try to bit more unique. We're just going to go across here, switch it around. Now, if you're getting it come up on these sides, so if I press hard here, we turn it around. They didn't do it that time, but sometimes what it would do is it will put it on the opposite side. If you want to fix that on a certain brush you are using, you can go to Brush, Auto Masking, and then turn off, or should I say turn on, Backface Mask. And this will make it so that will no longer happen. It will not affect the opposite side of something. Or at least it will try its best. Sometimes it does, and there's no way of fixing it. But most of the time, it's fine. So we're just going to go around here. We're going to basically just throw a bunch in. I'm not really too concerned, because we're going to get rid of a lot of the detail anyway. Just going to chunk away. Now, what we want to do, I want to grab the trim again. Probably make it a bit bigger. And we just want to start, a bit too strong. Let's turn down the intensity. Maybe turn down the shape a little bit. And we just want to start cutting away. Just flattening out parts of it. Just willy-nilly wherever you want. If you take away too much detail, you can go around and add some of it back in. Again, up to you. So, like, as you can see here, we get this nice bit here. And if I do want some of that detail back, I could just go back to a crack brush. Hit this in, and I can start going, I want some of this detail to stay. So I'll cut this bit back in. Same here. I want to cut this bit back in, and maybe here, here. And you can start grabbing that detail back in. But what this technique will basically do is it will basically just flatten out your highs and your lows, and it will just make it so you get these really nice, like, I don't know, these really strong details with a lot of smooth areas to it. And it's just really nice because then you can work with what you get left with afterwards. For example, here, I flattened this side bit and made it so this, like, grain or whatever you want to call it just gets sort of left on its own. Now, you could use this as much to your own discretion. If you don't like how much you're taking away, that's up to you. With what I'm going for, this is kind of what I want. So I am happy to flatten a lot of this information out. I don't want that. So you can flatten this part out. And again, look, as you see, it starts bringing it together. Start flattening it here, maybe here, here, like that. Now, a nice little thing you can do if you want is you can flatten basically very hard here, and you come on top of it and then flatten these parts. You can basically get this really nice sort of sharp effect on it, if that makes sense, like just sort of clumped together. So you can basically either do this way, which I can still do that with, I just have to be a bit more precise. Flatten here, flatten here, flatten down here. As you can see, you just basically get that nice cutoff. When it comes to here, that it starts basically just changes to like another 30-degree angle as it comes down. Maybe not that strong, but yeah, you get what I mean. So, and a lot of this is just how much you want to mess around with it. I could leave all this detail if I want, but I'm going to flatten it out a bit. Just at the bottom. Just something like that. It's pretty nice. You just mess with this as much as you'd like. Again, so like I said earlier, if you do want a chunk on the side, you could do that now. You start getting these nice strong chunks. There's a sort of show that some of the wood's just been worked with a bit too much. So like that. And I'm going to get rid of quite a bit of this detail actually. That. Now you can use the smooth to get rid of some of the detail, but the problem with using smooth is it just basically it softens all of it out really. That's what smooth does, and sometimes that's just not what you want. So a lot of the time when I'm trying to get rid of detail, I'll first work with trim dynamic to see what happens. I'm just going to keep working at it till I get what I want. Good. Down here, flatten these parts out, these parts, flatten this part down here. Again, we get that nice sharp cut off, which just looks really good with the style I'm going for. Like again, it's your discretion if you don't want it to do that because you want it to be a realistic wood or you want it to just be a different kind of art style. You do not have to do that. What I'm showing right now is not something you have to do. It's just what I'm going to do for what I'm working with. Again, a big part of this is just the workflow between getting your asset started and then how you end your asset. So that can change from asset to asset quite a lot. Again, we want to flatten this. Bring these parts down here. Get that nice effect. Boom. Looks very, very nice so far. Now we've got rid of a lot of detail here. Do we care? A little bit. I could add a bit back in, but I'm just going to leave it. It's not too bad. When I start getting my textures in, you'll see a lot of that detail will start popping anyway. That looks pretty good. I like how these parts turn out at the bottom. I'm going to basically cut this part out. Wait, let's just up. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Yeah, I think it's turned out pretty good. So now we'll work on the next bit. That's looking mighty fine. So now we'll go to our metal bit. So this part, the way I basically do metal is now I could have smoothed these parts over, but I don't really think I need to because I'm basically just going to grab a huge brush, make it stronger, and I'm just gonna flatten the hell out of these edges with no remorse. Maybe a little bit of remorse. Maybe it's a bit too big. But with metal, I basically just do a nice strong flatten on all the edges. Now you can do like big bits like this, pull it up just to get a bit more wear on it. Or you could just go straight line like I'm doing and just ignore that there will be wear. You can go to the corners, do that, so you get this nice sort of individual piece on each sort of edge. And you can just, again, work with it until you get a shape you're looking for. Again, a lot of the stuff that I will be editing in ZBrush will be using the Trim Dynamic brush because I love this brush. I think it's absolutely amazing and it can get some really nice results. We're just going to go across all the edges. Now, I'm not going to go over how much to navigate these softwares because I hope you guys have some basic understanding. Now, when it comes to metal and stone, actually, what I like to do is I like to grab the standard brush, which is ST. Then I'll go into my dots or whatever this was broke. Go to that one, which basically makes it so you get some different strength circles. So as you can see, it makes this bumpiness effect. I make it very weak. And maybe turn it down just a tad. Jesus, very weak. There you go. And then I'll basically just go over each surface, rubbing it up and down like this. You can see, I might leave a lot of that detail actually. Usually what I'll do is I'll trim dynamic it afterwards. However, the reason I might leave it is because we want it to be a little bit beaten because, well, it's a blacksmith hammer. So it's going to be quite beaten to begin with. But I'll show you what I usually do and I'll see if I prefer that to the normal sort of beaten look that I'm providing right now. Bit at the front and at the back. No, I've done the back. Cool. So now what I'll do, so if we push F, we'll get it nice in the middle of our screen. So if we go back to trim dynamic, we'll turn it down, we'll turn it up. So what I just selected, and then we'll start flattening in those details. The reason I do that is because you'll get like these sort of weird shapes appear when you do it, which just looks more natural. You see that? They're only very subtle, but it just gives a nice surface detail. We'll just work with it. And we might want to get rid of this a little bit together and that. And just go over each surface. Quickly rub in your trim dynamic brush over it. Again, you just get these nice little circles, nice little shapes. Now, I could smooth this part over more, make it look like it's being used quite a bit like this. I don't know if I want to do that, or if I want to keep it like that. Maybe I'll do it a little bit. Just make it look like he's hit that part quite a few times and it's just worn down. Now that looks pretty good. We'll move on to our next bit. Last little bit here. We want to, I'm probably just going to turn this bit down to 3, move a bunch of it over just very quickly, not making it too smooth. Turn it back up, down, and then we're just going to want to harden these, or trim these. Now, depending on how I want it to look like it's shaped, I could also trim the edges like here. Reason for that is if I want to make it look like it's got all these separate edges, you can then just trim each one like this, and it'll basically flatten out each one of these shapes as I go around. Or turn this up and let's go around it anyway, and it'll just start, turn this up in strength, and it'll just start bringing it together anyway. Which I'm probably just going to do like that if I'm being honest. I don't want to make it too much look like it has all those separate edges, but at the same time, it has got to bake down the information to a low poly that will only have a limited edge count. So, again, up to experimentation. Cool. And honestly, what I'm going to do to top now is I'm just going to go back to our standard brush, ST again when you click here, turn that to our color spray, and just go like this, get some of that detail. Gonna actually go quite ham on this. Bring some of the edges, chuck some of the pieces up quite high. You can hold Alt to reverse it if you want and bring some parts down. You just get a lot of displacement on it, just like that. Get back to our trim. Flatten out some of that. Oh, maybe a bit too big, should I say. Maybe make it buzz. No, bigger than that. Nice, quick autosave. Jesus, well, 25. Let's type it in manually. Flattening that out. Again, gives you some nice little details on there. There you go. Nice and bumpy. And that is our high poly done. Like I said, nothing too fancy. We're just trying to get some of that detail. So, next, what we got to do is we got to export this. One as a high poly and as a low poly. The reason we have to export it as a low poly as well, because if I take the low poly shape in, that has now changed to my original shape. That shape does not look like that shape now. We have to make it look like that shape, because when it bakes down, that is the most similar low poly shape that we have. So let's just go File, Export. And we're just going to call this... I probably should have just kept this low poly. I could just save over the top. That's probably just what I'm going to do, actually, because that is now our low poly. Put it back to our divided version. This is 7.5 million. So if you have a slightly slower computer, you may have just wanted it at like 7 divides. In fact, it didn't look like I lost any detail there. But honestly, I might just export it as 7 to just make it faster for us. If you have a good computer and you can run all of those extra polys, it's always worth just making that extra detail in if you don't think it's going to waste too much time. So, we're going to make that high poly. It will take a little bit to get it actually exported, especially if it's the 8 million one. It might take quite a while. I've added a tiny bit extra to this video because I wanted to add a little bit of extra detail to this. I thought this came out alright, but I just want to add a tiny bit more. So, uses some basic tools like standard brush with just dots. Again, I showed it higher. I showed it without the dots, so you might want to just go back from color spray. And I'm going to just make a few holes here and there, just like some really, really dense detail that we're going to really bake out in Substance. Like this. Like that. Just some random stuff. We're going to get the trim again. Got that. Go over it. You know, just to make it look like it was hit very hard at some points. Because it is, I mean, it was probably hit very hard at some point. It's a freaking blacksmith. Like, I'd hope it was. They just really dent that. Give some detail. We could do it to edges as well if we really wanted to, but I'm not going to. Because I don't want to change the detail. I don't want to change the detail too much on the edges. Ooh. Down. Okay. Perfecto. Then we just want to come into here. Now I could do these manually, but going to crack. I think crack 2 works better for this. I could go really soft, hard, soft. And we could basically get like edge sort of scratches like that, which look very nice. Or we could use your brush like I mentioned earlier. And grab some slashes and just grab this, put some slashes on parts of it. One of my favorite ones, /4, because it's really, actually, is it 4? Don't need more strength. There you go, yeah. And you just get some really strong, maybe a little too strong, some really strong details in it. So we could maybe get like here. There, just, you know, really drive home some of that detail. Thinner ones, and just go nuts on it. A cross section like that, where you got like 2 crossing over each other, always looks really nice for a style like this. At least I believe so. That is a little bit up to personal preference. So let's wrap up a tad. Just get some scratches all over the damn thing, because we just want that extra detail. Now, on my Substance video, I will have to add a bit to the end of that as well, because I've added this detail. And that should be more than enough. Like, I don't need to throw a bunch of this on, but I am, because fun. There you go. Cool, now we've just got a bunch of scratches and just some damage on our actual hammer. Perfect. You can do it here if you want on the wood, but I don't want it on the wood. I think that looks fine. All right.